Let's move on to the most painful part of audit, I would say, audit fieldwork. And in this time and age, it's always hard to ask for more resources. It's becoming increasingly difficult to convince audit committee and board for more staff. And it's all boils down to doing more with less. And I also keep saying staff for the audits we perform, not perform audits based on the staff we have. I've seen in many internal audit functions, they see typically we have these many for example, these many IT auditors, these many financial auditors or operational auditors, so we can pick and have these many operational audits and IT audits and financial audits and all that stuff. But it has to be upside down. These audits should be driven by the need of the business. And then when it comes to typical audit fieldwork, Farooque, I see that mundane internal audit tasks take a lot of time and effort without having to deliver visible benefits. I do understand that the core of audit that we do, but how do we do the same thing with much more efficiency? We typically go by developing testing strategy, review and assess design of internal controls, operating effectiveness. We review process flows, we do document review, and then identify control weaknesses. So there are a lot of step-by-step process, and these are mundane tasks that we have to do. And I see in a typical audit field work takes the most amount of time. So how do we kind of look into this field work and be more efficient, having to have more impactful results and spending less time?
Yeah, I think what we have discussed as a previous activities in terms of your internal, the risk assessment and the internal audit planning. So I think we have already saved half of your time. So if you've got enough people to run through the system more efficiently, but again, let's look at the most important elements of the audit process or the field work. So we are talking about the document review and interviews, and also we will have a quick chat on the testing process. So there are many other ways, but we thought we'll stick to the basics, right? So what if you have got a document of 10,000 pages, which has got all the technical complexities, or what if you have got 100 contracts, which is of high value contracts and the most complex projects, how would you review them, using all your human intelligence? Because if somebody throws me a black and white document which has got 100 pages, I would say, okay, I'll read it a bit, then I'll probably pass it on to someone else. I don't know about others. But here, what we are talking about is that, those 10,000 page information or those 100 procedures information is extracted using machine learning capabilities. So this is where Ranjit was talking about the natural language processing, and where you talk about extracting information. Simply read, understand, and interpret, or I would say extract, read, and interpret. Once you do that, you can also map the information. So we have so much of redundancies lying down in our, or duplications lying down within our own existing documentation. So instead of looking at them, so what you're doing is that, you're asking the machine to read and give you the insights. And from there, we know that, the maturity of the machine learning in terms of the document review, even if it is used very highly, it is only 70 to 80%. That is where your team can come and start working on it. Say that, okay, these are the insights, and you can apply all the criteria, what you generally use based on your human intelligence. Then the machine can start learning it and apply its own thoughts, right? So that's the first bit of it. How is it sounding to you in terms of a document review? What's it like?
That really puts me at ease, because in a typical, especially for example working for government sector, you're bombarded with the documents, and you really have to go through before you start audit, and that takes a lot of planning and field work time. And if you have something which goes through the whole document and comes up with a kind of an executive summary with the key points, and where you can go through and fine tune that thing, that would really make a big difference. That's awesome.
Yeah, it can summarize, it can give you the insights, and it can basically even track and and even recommend. So, but the depending on, so when you work with the government organizations, we get to see a lot of handwritten information as well. The minutes of the meeting for the board generally comes in a handwritten
Just
information.
notes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, then you type it in, so it's all double work what you do, right? So once you do the your document review, the next thing is an interview. I don't want to really test the typical interview process, because that's where the auditor enjoys the most, talking to people, right? Or we say that, okay, let's keep it as it is, but there are facilities where if we take this recording of this webinar, probably pass it on to the machine intelligence, so it can get the insights out of the discussions what we are having, right? Depending on the kind of culture what you have within your organization, this can be tested, right? So the best example would be if you have a call center, and if you receive hundreds of calls in terms of complaints or whatever it is, it can always be tested against the voice voice analytics. So this is, I would say, I'm not a big fan of voice analytics during an interview, but yes, technology can do it. But again, personally, even after promoting a lot of technology solutions, the likes of AI, I would still say I would love to sit with a person and
Yeah,
talk to
yeah. I think it's
physically.
all. I
Yeah.
I
Or
agree.
like what we are doing, I think like I see a question coming from Ahmed saying that, okay, how do we do the audit now? This is how we do the audit. So you've got the technology, you are sitting in Zoom and you're saying that, okay, we are doing it. So but is your culture accepting it? I don't know, like that's what something you have to, yeah.
I think under the current circumstances, under COVID-19, it has put more emphasis on technology, the way we do audits now. We need to leverage more on technology, more on analytics, if we have to get real stuff out of that field works and auditing. So, when we are working remotely, it's a challenge to do those typical field works, but if we have the right technology and right tools, we can extract the information, we can get the information we need, and we apply those analytics that can really take thing forward. So
Yeah.
and I think this interview technique can be really handy if you're into investigations, that can really help.
Yes, I think, yeah, during investigations, because it really works well. Yeah, so even post interview, it really works well. Yeah, it's like the movies what we watch in general. Especially, yeah, those FBI questioning kind of a thing,